Are EVs a scam? The market is going through a big downturn, with over $5 billion in losses. Companies are losing control, and despite investing billions, they're losing money and dropping workers by the thousand. Even Ford closed its entire EV production, and soon more companies like GM and Tesla will follow, because EVs are simply unreliable. But the government is still pushing strict policies on us, and the truth is, EVs are causing more harm than good. And honestly speaking, there are lots of reasons why, so watch carefully, because this is just the tip of the iceberg. Let's be real, EVs are not practical. We can go on and on about all the issues and problems, but despite all of this, there is a plan to make all new passenger cars electric. A lofty goal, considering that right now, only a meager 5.8% of new cars and less than 2% of trucks are rocking the all-electric configuration. Let's face it, EVs are hitting our wallets where it hurts. They can be pricey compared to gas guzzlers, so you'd expect these electric rides to be the pinnacle of dependability. Well, they're not. Let's cut to the chase. For us ordinary folks, electric vehicles are expensive. They depreciate faster than any other asset, and the insurance policies are not even comparable. On top of that, the charging stations are not quite practical. No wonder people are not buying new EVs. Whether you're in the middle of nowhere or downtown, there's just not enough juice. Until that changes, EV acceptance will forever be stuck in neutral. But hold on, automakers are facing an even bigger dilemma. Despite investing billions in electrification, the government's grand plan is forcing them to ditch gas-powered cars. And the truth is, that will be the end of them. Because still, with all these incentives and bonuses, these old gas guzzlers are the ones people are buying. And that means that is where the money is. There's more extra cost, and with crazy high insurance rates and those pesky reliability issues, owning an EV turns into a perfect recipe to ruin your finances. And they're simply not as convenient as the other options, especially if you don't have a fancy garage or the perfect setup for charging at home. To be honest, it's like they're trying to live in some perfect world without doing the work. Nobody argues that caring for our planet is bad. The only problem is that the so-called solution has to make sense. President Biden's goal is to slash emissions by half by 2030, and the strategy is to tighten those emission standards. It sounds good on paper, but consumers and manufacturers aren't exactly happy about it, and there are more reasons for it than what we've just talked about. Let's talk about the first one: the government's heavy involvement and infatuation with electric vehicles. They're hyping it up as the next big thing, but let's be real. Are people really buying into it? Not really. Just ask a friend who's owned an EV for a long time, because now we all see these facts and numbers. So even if the government's hyping up electric cars, folks won't make the switch until these basic problems are fixed. If Biden's team keeps pushing the electric agenda without a reality check, we might be in for a wild ride. Take General Motors, led by Mary Barra. It is sitting on the edge of bankruptcy, all because their EVs are way too overpriced. And then there's Ford, selling EVs at a whopping loss of $36,000 per car. Can you imagine? I mean, what kind of business strategy is that? Even the mighty Tesla, with all its futuristic and cool features, is slashing prices. And guess what? There are no takers. Dealerships are practically EV graveyards, with thousands of cars collecting dust. It all makes perfect sense. Even used EVs are now 33.7% cheaper than just last year. So you have to ask, are EVs truly the future, or just another snake oil of our generation? And remember when the US got so fed up with the oil giants that controlled all the oil prices in the world just because of some disagreement, and they basically tried to use that as a weapon? If you don't remember, then you're in luck. You can witness that happening, because that is basically what is happening with China. Not with oil, but with batteries. And here's the kicker. China is the EV powerhouse, and they control most of the battery production, the lifeblood of electric vehicles. So it's only a matter of time until they start doing the same thing, and the government is giving them the perfect opportunity for that. And this will affect you individually, whether you like it or not. Keep watching, and I'll show you exactly how. car dealers are shying away from electric vehicles because they have to. It takes an average of 92 days to sell an electric vehicle. That's way more than the industry's usual 60-day benchmark. The market's expanding, sure, but it seems like we're flooding it with more EVs than people are wanting to buy. Just last summer, a staggering 92,000 EVs were sitting on dealers' lots, a jaw-dropping 342% increase from the summer of 2022, when only 21,000 were lingering around. In simpler terms, EVs are not wanted anymore. A recent consumer report shows the real deal, the real reason why this is happening. One of those reasons is reliability. EVs are dealing with a whopping 80% more issues compared to their gas-guzzling counterparts. Electric cars face challenges with their batteries, charging systems, and other body-related parts. But wait, it gets more interesting. And plug-in hybrids aren't doing good either, with almost 150% more issues than your regular cars. For those who've already ventured into the electric vehicle realm, the unexpected twist isn't enjoyable. Imagine forking out a hefty MSRP, and that's just the beginning. Brace yourself for a monthly insurance cost of $500, and when the inevitable repair bill arises, it's a staggering $15,000 bill. So what does all this mean to you? If you want to buy an EV, you'll have to pay a hefty MSRP and then more for insurance, which is also way too high. When something unfortunate happens, you'll pay an enormous amount of money just to repair it. So now, let's dive into the numbers. If you decide to sell a new EV, well, good luck. Because like I said earlier, it takes twice as long for them to find a new home compared to their gasoline counterparts. Why the struggle? Well, it's a threefold challenge of high prices, limited range, and a shortage of charging stations. Then every winter comes and it exasperates the situation, leaving EVs stranded in parking lots as owners desperately search for a working charging spot. Now here's the kicker. The government saw this storm brewing, yet they went full speed ahead with stringent emission norms for EVs. Joe Biden's ambitious plan to ban gas cars hinges on these norms, pushing companies to flood the market with EVs. To sweeten the deal, he throws in tax incentives of up to $7,500 per car. But here's the catch. Interest rates on car financing are increasing just when you thought you were saving. We all have felt those dreaded moments when we get paid and we get nothing because we have to pay for our monthly bills. Now dealerships are going through the same thing. More than 4,000 dealers have rallied together, penning a fiery letter to President Biden, urging him to ease up the throttle and quit pushing electric vehicles on the public. But here's the kicker. It's not just the dealers feeling the heat. Let's talk about those high and pesky insurance rates and policies. Premiums are soaring to unprecedented heights, hitting a jaw-dropping $6,000 a year. A small scratch on an electric car's battery can turn a $1,000 fix into a nightmarish $115,000 problem. Insurance companies are complicating matters by insisting on full battery replacements for even the smallest damages, leaving electric vehicle owners with seriously damaged finances. Picture this. Quotes skyrocketing to $50,000 just because your car's battery got a scratch. Meanwhile, in the corridors of power, President Biden's EV mandates are full steam ahead. Federal employees are being ushered into the EV era, all in the name of emission cuts. Noble cause, right? But the reality on the ground is a different story. The backbone of the economy, the middle class, is taking the hardest hit. Sold the dream of a utopian EV future, they're waking up to a harsh reality. EVs are nothing but overpriced, underperforming chunks of metal. Dealerships nationwide are singing a horror story. Lots packed with unwanted EVs and a sale pitch falling on deaf ears. The crash in the EV market isn't just a red flag, it's a blaring alarm. It's time to face reality and acknowledge that EVs might not be the way forward, at least not yet. Tough times are on the horizon, and the crash in the EV market is a stark reminder that we may have jumped the gun. So what is the real deal here? Are EVs scams? Thanks for watching, and if you want to, we've already made a video about manufacturers like Toyota that are facing the effects of this. So I'll see you there.